Welcome back to another episode of the Modernist Guide. This time we're finally back with music reviews. This is a double album feature for Tom Morello with the Atlas Underground Fire and the Atlas Underground Flood. Atlas Underground Fire actually came out in late October, but when I heard that the Flood was coming out and I was still starting this channel and figuring out how to juggle things and what to do and what not to do, I figured I might as well do a double album review when the Flood comes out. So here we are. The original Atlas Underground came out in 2018 and it was a wonderful clusterfuck, which basically is this too. I've described it to everybody. The original first album was Tom Morello was just at Coachella, and so it was literally every featured guest artist there, and they all just went to his tent. Dude probably carries around a studio in a box, just opens it up. Everyone is high on uppers and even higher on downers, drinking, and just like, let's make a fucking album, and probably did it in like 5 or 6 hours. That's what it sounds like. That's what it feels like. That's the chaotic, random energy, and I think it's fun. It doesn't work all the time. There's about 4 or 5 songs I'll just spit off to recommend. If you've never even heard that Tom Morello has done a solo project, the original has pretty decent tracks on there, I think. Battle Sirens, Rabbit's Revenge, Every Step That I Take, How Long, Where It's At Ain't What It Is, and Lead Poisoning. All those songs are enjoyable to me for different reasons. One of them is just because Tim McGill, Wrath of Rise Against screams again while getting chopped and screwed by some EDM dubstep shit. Never thought I'd hear that, so might as well. Who really? I'm gonna keep saying who really cares, right? Because it's such a just putting stuff together. This isn't like Slash where you get all the names you expect kind of thing and everything sounds right and it sounds like a Slash project with friends. This doesn't feel like a project with friends. It feels like a project with friends you didn't know he was friends with. There's so many guests on here. I'm not gonna list them all. I'm just gonna rattle off all the ones that I recognized before I looked into them. That includes Bring Me the Horizon, Phantogram, Chris Stapleton, Grandson, Damian Marley, The Refused, Barnes Courtney, Kirk Hammett, Ex Ambassadors, Manchester Orchestra, and Ben Harper and Idols. And so what I'm going to do, this being a double album, I'm just going to kind of go mostly track by track, the ones that stuck out to me and what they sound like, and grade each album individually and as a whole. The whole full grade is not super different from the separate. The points really don't matter on this one. I just think it's a very entertaining and overall super enjoyable experience of just what comes next. It's straight up, every flavored beans kind of stuff without any bad flavors. I'm not the kind of person that listens to music and gets cringy all that often. So for me, it was either I didn't like it or it was weird or just a tad off putting. But I'm not really going to shit on this record. But can't praise it to high hell because there's more misses than hits, and then there's also some just like this. Nice, it's not bad. Tom Morello does everything here. His signature guitar is all over the place, of course, but he mixes everything from the traditional hard rock that you know him for, EDM, dubstep, several country ballads, and acoustic pickings. Plenty of rap guests as well. You got some punky vibes. Some songs are just straight up electronica with his guitar in it. It's a good mixed bag because even if you don't like some of the stuff, it's still like, well, that was an interesting try. And I think Tom Morello's whole deal is that he just wants to see what kind of new sounds he can make from the past like 15 years of music that he himself also helped influence. And with that said, starting with the Atlas Underground Fire, Harlem Hellfire is a pretty good opener. It's got a little bit of Japanese electronica and sampling in there, so it's fun and quirky, and I'm pretty much into it. The big elephant in the room, ironic, ha ha ha, because the cover is elephants, is the cover for Highway to Hell, which comes right after it, that has Bruce Springsteen and Eddie Vedder. I didn't mention them because they're such huge names. I don't know where Eddie is on this song, and the more I hear the song, the less I hate it. I don't think it should exist, and I'm not really sure why it exists, but like Bruce sounds pretty good. The guitar's nice. it's a weird cover. It's a weird cover choice. I don't know where Eddie is on here. I should probably have looked it up to see. Maybe he's on guitar. But if he is on vocals, he's hiding it very well. And I don't know why, just because it gave him a chance to do something different. But, you know, it's just three old fucks just jamming to one of their favorite songs, I guess. You know, it's indiscriminatory to me. I don't care. And if you really think that it's sacrilegious to cover an AC/DC song, then you haven't really paid attention to AC/DC's legacy. I think they probably would pride themselves on being one of the most recognizable bands that you cover. Everyone loves covering an AC/DC song because they're simple to cover, so just do it, and I'm sure they actually kind of find it flattering. Let's get this party started with Bring Me the Horizon. It's straightforward, just banger. It's probably one of the heavier songs on here. It's simple as can be. I was wishing for more experimentation considering all the stuff that Bring Me the Horizon is doing right now. Very similar, bringing in guests and coming up with new versions of old styles and stuff, but that's neither here nor there because it's the most like competent track that doesn't feel like it's missing anything like most others are, because again, I think this is highly experimental with super conventional sounds, and I like that, and I think that's fun. I think it's more fun than being highly experimental with stuff you don't know it works, and then people just pretending like it does just because it hasn't been done before and getting super like pretentious and uppity about it. Like, yeah, finding new soundscapes from the unknown is fine, but so is finding new soundscapes from shit you've heard over and over, because the thing about music is you can tweak it just a little bit and it changes. Four chords do make a million, whether you want to admit it or not. Driving to Texas and War Inside are really slow and melodic country-esque ballads, but I'd call it alien country because they sound like straightforward country ballads with a little bit of that modern country crossover electronica in it. But then when Tom's guitar comes in here, it's so like, oh, like this alien just came down and he wants to jam with whoever he found playing by a campfire in the Arizona desert. They're like, no, you can't put that in this song. And he's just still going and they can't stop him now. So it's like, oh, well, it's in there. And I don't hate it, and it's weird, but like, you know, alien country, maybe it's the future. Tom knows something we don't. I'm gonna say Naraka is probably the most directionless and aimless song on here. It's super weird. I don't know if it fits. It's one of the more experimental because it's trying a vocal style and a sampling electronica style that I've never really heard work that way. It's awkward R&B, and I'm not super fond of it, but it's noticeable for just being like, oh, that's the weird cluster fuckiness from the first album that he's not let go of. Because this overall, both records are more controlled than the first one back from 2018, but not so much that it's not all still kind of weird. I love Achilles List. That's the one featuring Bob Marley's son, Damian Marley, and it reminds me of just all the British electronic styled bands from the UK of the past like 20 years who would have Jamaican artists come in. You know, Prodigy did it, Massive Attack. Later on, two bands I really like, Pendulum and Chemist, did it. And so it's something I'm familiar with that I enjoy every time. I like this heavy electronic rock distortion with someone just chanting and yelling at me about the problems of the planet in a Jamaican or just, you know, Gulf Coast island accent. I think that's really fun. What I'm saying is I'm a huge fan of Skindred. Save Our Souls is kind of weird. That's the one with the Refused on it, and for some reason lead singer of the Refused sounds like Dave Grohl here, so it sounds like a slightly more splintered Foo Fighters song, and I don't know if it works. It's super odd because no matter how many times I listen to it, I'm like, why are you not Dave Grohl? Why do you sound like Dave Grohl? I don't ever remember you sounding like Dave Grohl. I've heard all the Refused albums. When did this happen? Did I miss something? Do I not remember the last album that well? I can't. I'm not sure. That's pretty much it for the Atlas Underground Fire. I think Night Witch is a fun, easy song. It's just kind of pure modern alt electronica, so it's nothing special. But again, everything else is so wild that sometimes a more controlled and just complete song is the most enjoyable, even though all the other things I listed you should try just to hear how weird. On the Shore of Eternity is the last song. It's 8 minutes, it's repetitive, it's atmospheric, it's typical like chill wave EDM kind of stuff. It's fine. Now, while Underground Fire was the wildness I expected, Underground Flood takes a more relaxed approach and a more mellow kind of style, and it's where we get even a little weirder because it's stuff I wouldn't have been able to predict any more than, I guess, Fire, but Flood's just something. First off, Animal. Oh my god, Animal is just an Imagine Dragons song. That's weird. That's weird. That's weird. I don't hate it. I don't like it. It's not even. I guess it's the worst song on this album. There's another one that like perplexes me that I need to keep listening to. I've heard it like 4 times, and I'll get to it. But yeah, so if you want to hear a perfectly made Imagine Dragons song that might be more tolerable because it's not Imagine Dragons, if you want to hear Tom Morello do Imagine Dragons, that's it. So it makes me wonder if Tom ever was like mad at Limp Bizkit the way the other members were, because they hated new metal, but maybe Tom didn't, because if he's willing to do Imagine Dragons, why would he hate Limp Bizkit? Speaking of Limp Bizkit, Hard Times is Limp Bizkit meets Gorillaz with none of the like gross dumb crap that Fred Durst does. It's particularly if Limp Bizkit had any other rapper at all than Fred Durst, who was a lot better at a rhyme scheme and lyricism and had that groove, but also the electronica more than the DJ scratching of Gorillaz. And the rapping's pretty good on here. I don't know the rappers like at all. Jim Jones and Chipotle Joe. Don't know anything about them. But I think it's fun. I think it's one of my favorite songs out of both records. It's super catchy. I would love more like Gorillaz-esque stuff from Tom. Hell, I'm a little sad and kind of confused why they've never gotten together, honestly. You'll Get Yours is okay. Most notably, it's got the solo from Like a Stone by Audioslave when Tom was in that group on here, but it's more mellow and spaced out. It doesn't like, speed up like it does at the end. It's interesting to listen to. Lost Cause is just a Manchester orchestra featuring Tom Morello. Everything else felt like Tom brought them in, but this one, and I guess another one later on, but this one just felt like a Manchester orchestra song and Tom putting his guitar down, and it's fine, and I like it. I like it. Bachelors, which is the one with idols on it, is the weird one because it doesn't fit. It's a little too dark and hard. It's got a little bit of a Black Sabbathy vibe, sort of, kind of, but it doesn't fit the rest of it. It's not as electronic. I would have loved to have heard those weird wails and vocal styles that Idols is known for on a more funky, hard-hitting track, but instead it feels like Idols took over, and again, Tom's just kind of there. So, and I've tried listening to it several times, even on repeat, and I get more annoyed with it. It feels super weird, and I hate the idea that Idols, out of everyone on this fucking double album, is the one that doesn't gel well, doesn't mesh that good. It's just an Idols song. And if you're going to be, all up your butt about it and be like, well, that's why it's the best, because it's untainted or something, is all I could think of. But that's not what I'm here for this record, or why I was looking forward to the Underground albums, because I wanted to see what weird shit we could get. And Idols feels from just an immediate perspective without any research like they were the least willing to change up their own weird shit for whatever Tom's weird shit he wanted to do. Parallels is the last like pretty decent track. It's like second to last. The other ones, he does a lot of more EDM kind of mellow, almost chill wave stuff on this second record, but Parallels is kind of bluesy and I enjoy it. It's got a nice haunting feel to it. So that's definitely one to check out too. All in all, I love what Tom's done, where he's kind of reached that age where it's like, well, my bands are never getting back together. None of them probably. So might as well just do what I want with it. Do weird crap, see what sticks, and that's fun to me. That I think is what art should be. Art shouldn't be perfect. Art should be sloppy, and I hate how many people see experimental music, and if like it doesn't gel perfectly somehow within their emotional or mental expectations that it means it's automatically bad. But no matter what I say, I'm going to come off as a little hypocritical because there is stuff where I hear immediately and I think it's boring or dry or uninspired. I don't like slow, sad music because that feels like such a one note emotion, and it's the most popular one in all of music. There is not a single type of emotion that's exploited more in music than sadness. And I get tired of it sometimes. Like, being left or feeling alone or being afraid of stuff. It gets tiring after a while. This has everything, I think. It has loneliness, it has anger, it has just want to have a good time, it has existentialism, it has just trying to vibe, it has righteous kind of fury. There's a little bit of politicalness on here, some of that rage feeling in different parts, especially specifically Achilles List and Hard Times. Those two, absolutely. You should check those out. I think were my top recommendations. But I liked the experience because you never knew what you were going to get. But I think Fire's a little bit better, so I'd give it a 6.5. Then Flood's a 6. But overall, the whole as a double album, front to back, starting 24 songs all the way through, I'm gonna give it a 7. Um, it's got more misses than hits, but I think it's worth feeling out together at least once, or at least list of songs. Just every song I mention, definitely you should check out. So that's it for this one. Thank you so much as always. Like, share, subscribe, and if not, just always thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Have a good night.